this thing that wanted me to answer some crazy thing. Bassin Bonsai, not on the water. We are in the house, right? So we're going to talk about a few things today. And something that just popped up, and let's just talk about it then. I've got my lucky bracelet finally. Maddie has made me. And your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. This is kind of metallic colors. Black, white, and red. Let's try it on. I've already tried it on. I've already fished it. We got to get some luck into it. We went fishing and that bracelet, we got to get some luck into that bracelet. So anyway, got my lucky bracelet, went fishing with the banana. Week before, you guys have seen that video. Good luck, me and Charles. We went this week, me, Matt, and Hannah. Not so much. Hannah missed a big fish. Got it to the boat, and even to top that off, bad luck, I didn't get it recorded. I thought I was recording. I wasn't recording. You won't see any of that. But it was right after I ate the banana. So anyway, luck in bananas, it's all about what you guys think is luck, right? You got to have confidence when you're out fishing. So if you feel something's lucky, take it with you. If you don't, leave it at home. It's that simple. Confidence is what will get you more bites and catch you more fish out on the water. So having said all that, let's jump into what I'm talking about in some of my confidence baits and confidence reels that I like, and they're just a fun factor, right? So I've been working on jigs, and that's what kind of made me, Tactical Bassin did their little jig video today where the list of jigs they recommend. And you guys, if you follow the channel, you know what jigs I recommend, right? I'm horrible with jigs, so I try to get the cheapest ones because I'm going to lose some jigs. It's just that's kind of thing. Those are the kind of baits you're throwing down in no man's land. You're not going to reel up to them, get them out. And I don't care how good the weed guards are, they always tend to get hung up, right? So you've probably seen and you know the deal on chatterbaits, right? Shouldn't you be at work, Charles? I was just talking to Charles. He's got some lapel mics, like mics you put on there. We're going to try to get them rigged up to where, I think Charles you can't hear Charles when he is saying something to me. You got to have your volume all the way up. You might be able to hear him. You just hear me answering him a lot of the times. So anyway, yes, Charles, I've already got my 8.5 hours in. I'm already back, getting ready to go to the gym. Thought I'd throw together a quick live stream talking about jigs and trailers and chatterbaits and reels for next season, because that's what I feel like doing. And hopefully this video will branch off to a few other videos I plan on doing, live streams. But you guys know me and this finesse jig from Rogers, right? You guys should know, if you don't, because I haven't talked about these in a little while. In Tactical Bassin, they touched on it briefly as far as the Strike King and Booyah make. Strike King has like the Bitsy Bug, the Bitsy Flipping Jig. They make several small different jigs you can get and stuff like that. But I'll be honest, it seems like the minute you add skirts to stuff, it kind of takes it out of it's finesse, but it kind of takes it to a different ball game on, I guess I'll say, it goes from being a for sure finesse bait that you're gonna get hit to chances of catching a bigger size of fish go up, but the volume and the amount of fish you catch kind of goes down just the minute you add skirting to stuff for some reason. Like, and I'll give you an example. I can take, and I've done it over the years, I can take these little dudes, which are mainly oh, there's one, a Bitsy Bug in there. That may be a Booyah one. But these were more or less, Z-Man came out with these to go with the TRD, right? And they work. Don't get me wrong. These work 100%, and these two are stuck together, and I can't figure out where it's stuck at. But these little flat, it's basically just a Ned head with the skirt already on it. And they do work. But I'm going to use them as an example because I feel if I go out there, and I don't care if I've got a true TRD, Zinker's cut down, or, you know, any kind of stick bait kind of cut down to that TRD size. Like this is actually a little longer. But when I'm dealing with what I call like my naked baits, my just soft plastic only, for whatever reason, When I'm throwing just a regular TRD, I feel I'm going to get more bites. I might not get a big bass, but I put the TRD on this, I'm going to get a few less bites, but I have a chance of catching a bigger bass just with that skirt added. It's simply, that's all I've added. I can use the same weight head with or without this weed deal because they make them all different ways. So there's just a thing. Once you go to a jig, yes, it's the finesse jig and these little bitsy ones will progressively get you more bites and better hookup ratio, especially the colder water gets. But you can also go to just, whether it be, I'll use a bandito bug, for instance, or, they have a couple different versions of those, or down to a smaller craw, even all the way down to, I could rig, this is a peewee jig, but even that peewee jig is more likely to catch a bigger fish and not get as many bites as if I just rigged this little, and that is the baby goat. If I rig that little baby goat just on a Ned head or the TRD bugs or whatever, I feel it's more apt, just like if you were on a drop shot, right? There's a reason why you don't see a lot of guys, and I'm sure you can, take a drop shot setup and add a skirt to it at some point in time, not with actually a jig head, but just the skirt material with the soft plastic, and you probably get a bigger hit. So I've kind of, I don't know, over the years I've kind of gone with kind of a 1-2 punch because I'm hoping for a big fish and I want to catch numbers also though, but you've seen me throw for a couple years of zinkers, and I've kind of thrown a jig back in the mix. And I'm always trying to help my chatterbait bite, right? When the bite's going for chatterbaits. But when that bite slows down, could be the extreme heat of the day, could be the extreme cold in this winter bite. I like a jig, but I also go to, that's when I would recommend like a drop shot, shaky head, or TRD or something, even over the jig. But if you're still wanting to throw a jig, and go back, and if you haven't watched the Tactical Bass and Buyer's Guides and the jigs I recommend and stuff like that, then you can progress down to until you get to these little bitty ones. But I've really found like this size right here, I feel, because you guys have seen the little bitty dinks you can catch with a little bitty jig like this, which is pretty small. And I know these get smaller, but you're still dealing with a pretty, I'm not sure if the fish can tell you that this one is a lot bigger and this is a lot smaller. They look pretty close. Oh boy, he's trying to call me. Scam likely. Scam likely, quit calling me. Doing a live stream. So what I have started to get more and more confidence in, especially this year, is the minute I take, whether it be a chatterbait or one of these finesse jigs, and I don't know what it is about that tail, but the baby Rage Menace, not necessarily the Rage Menace or any of the bigger Rage type baits. I think it's this real little slender profile of the baby Rage Menace with just enough flap to add to some of these smaller and even the 3/8 ounce chatterbaits and that kind of stuff. And so that kind of progressed me to starting to cut down on the goat, right? I was looking for a trailer though that would last way longer than what the, because these are awesome baits, baby Rage Menace. But I was watching a video with Greg Hackney on jigs a couple weeks ago, and I forget which one he was using. I think he was just using a Rage Craw, and he was like, you will go through baits, like every couple of fish, but he's okay with that. Well, of course he is. He's sponsored by him, right? He just needs more packs. He just says he needs more packs. We got to go buy him. So I'm always looking for something that works, but then more durable, longer lasting, especially on soft plastic, that will last longer. So you guys remember the goats, and I love the goats now. They work real good. Slender and way down for a chatterbait, but leaving the same length, and they're still not quite. You almost have to leave a little bit from the very butt. But then on these smaller jigs, and they work on almost any jig. I think the baby one, the baby goat would maybe be good and okay for any of these little 16th ounce, the bitsy bugs and stuff like that, and this little peewee jigs. But once you go into a true finesse, something with a little bit more, you can kind of get by with BFS. I can throw this I don't know if you guys can make out the hook sizes. There's not a huge difference, but there's a difference to take the regular finesse type jig out of the BFS range. That little bitsy bug, and there's a few others that you can still with like a medium light, not power BFS, right? You're not going to throw this with an ultralight BFS and really get a good kick. You might catch some, but you're going to miss a lot of them on the hookup ratio. Same thing with this, even though it's considered real small, it's a heavier bait. If you're going to do the peewee jig, you're going to want it on, like a medium action at least. I would start with the medium, probably medium heavy. I don't know if I could do the medium. Maybe a medium light, maybe. I probably wouldn't know. Stick with like a medium. My medium moderate would probably be good for the peewee. Just a little smaller, but when I go to throwing these jigs, I'm throwing them on a medium heavy. Like I really like my, I've been throwing them on the heavy because I don't set my drag crazy. I've still got right at the moment 15-pound test with the drag set accordingly. So a hard hook set, you may hear the drag go, but that's to ensure that I'm not going to break the 15-pound line or straighten up some of these smaller hooks. But so in the process of doing that, I found that the regular goat slendered way down and then cut the first couple sections off works real well for this size. And you could go even cut it down a little more if you wanted a little less profile, or leave it long if you think you need that long one. But then, for those of you, if you don't follow the channel, you don't know which ones I'm talking about, but from AliExpress, if you guys remember right, let me pull these in there. I found these a while back from AliExpress, and you guys see me fishing with them by themselves. By themselves, they're about the right size to get bit and to work fairly good. I was throwing them on the wobble head. They're fairly good on the biffle, instead of a biffle bug on the biffle head. Like replace these with the, probably almost any size with the bigger ones for sure. Well, then I got to thinking the other day, and I'm like, why don't I just try cutting them? Because I cut them down a little bit. If you remember right, I cut them down a little bit and liked them on the chatterbait okay. And then what I've done now is I cut them down all the way, just like I would the goat. And I'm going to try those out as soon as our chatterbait bite gets back in. Or if I get out, I'm probably done for this season. We'll probably wait for it to freeze up and then thaw out again once the water temps get back up into the mid 40s, high 40s maybe. I'll get back out with some of these jigs and I'll try them instead of the... I'm still going to keep the Baby Rage Menaces around and the few different colors. I think I'm going to like this goat. Maybe I can't remember the exact color of that goat, but it may be the Tackle Warehouse exclusive color. I can't remember. It's got a little more blue on the bottom. But then these regular baits that I was getting from AliExpress, I think I'm going to like some of those. Their blue is just a different shade, a little bit of different option I can try on the chatterbait. So their black and blue is definitely, those all flopped right out of there. A little more blue on bottom. Gonna have a tail's gonna have a little different kick. Oh boy, but I think cut down, it gives you, it definitely works on a chatterbait. It gives you less resistance and it lets that bait tend to hunt when you real quick, real and slow, just to chatter and then give it a quick snap of the reel, reel it one time real hard. I can clearly watch it. The chatterbait will jump around. A 3/8 ounce chatterbait with one of these slender down baits, even with the little tail kicking. Now the zinkers is what gives it like the least resistance and lets it flutter around even better. But sometimes I feel they want either zinkers or they want this. And I don't feel there's a time that anything else will work better than these few baits. And I know a lot of you guys will say that, well, you're not trying to imitate a crawdad. I hook it up just like that, but you could always go like that to where give it a more fish profile. Of course, a lot of times the colors may change around if they're different colors on top to bottom. But I feel that almost the same thing's happening with these jigs somewhat. Because if you remember right, the last time we got on a decent bite, me, Matt, and Maddie were out, and she was actually jerking this thing around almost like a jerk bait on bottom. And at the end, she definitely, I think as the temps warmed up, they got a little more aggressive. She was pulling in more fish than me and Matt. And she was basically just copying him up front at the boat jerking a jerk bait, and she was down there. You could just watch her. She was watching him. So I think she just unintentionally started doing it. She just, was following what her dad was doing with his bait, and she was doing with hers, and it got more hits. But I sometimes try to do that with the zinkers. I intentionally throw it out on a shaky head and a 16th ounce because there's not a lot of weight up front, and that sucker get down on bottom, and then I'll intentionally jerk it hard. I'm trying to almost imitate soft jerk bait just down on bottom. And what I'm going to try to do this coming season, which it just popped in my head once I started. If you guys follow, do you guys watch other YouTube channels? I know I do. I was watching Mike Iaconelli talking about how the French fry and how good it was, just nail rigged, and because it swims away from you, kind of like you guys remember the old what do they call that, the flying minnow or whatever. It was good because they say you throw it right up against cover and then let it go. It'd swim back into cover, and the French fry does a good job. But well, you'll probably see me doing more this season coming up. Not with this cut up dude. You'll probably see me more often than not. A lot of times I'll take my zinkers. When they're brand new, I'll probably just throw them on a 16th ounce shaky head, and they sink a lot quicker. But as they get old and they stretch, they get light, and you've probably seen me in a couple videos. I'll throw it out, and a 16th ounce will do this, and it's sitting there, literally won't sink because 16th ounce isn't enough weight. The VMC Finesse Rugby Jig isn't enough weight to sink a fully stretched floating. The zinkers will float. So what I'm probably going to start doing on some older baits before I actually take them off and just cut them up, using them for, as a TRD or on the back of a trailer on one of these other baits. I'm also going to start sticking a nail weight 16th ounce in that 60 or whatever weighs and I will weigh up the 16th ounce VMC Finesse Rugby Jig. It's probably just over 1/16 of an ounce, and I'll be getting a nail weight that is close to that and rigging that up to try. So basically it'll be 1/8 of an ounce on a floating worm, sinking it down, and just almost like a weedless wacky rig, right? That's one other thing I'm going to be trying a little more kind of in depth on these, just throwing a zinc, because I know a lot of times you guys, and if you don't follow the channel real close, you probably only see me say, yeah, throw the zinkers on a shaky head. There's more to it than just throwing the zinkers on a shaky head, because it's perfect when it's new. As it gets old, there's a little more to it. A 16th ounce, then you'll want to go to an 1/8, all the way up to maybe a 1/4. And if you're just trying to get down to the bottom in deeper water and work it around, then that's what you want to do. But there's a little more finesse ways, and I feel my personal best was caught on a spray grass zinkers by me throwing it into the grass and kind of twitching it around, making it dart, and is what made that big one, fooled that big female into hitting that, because we had fished that place for quite a while, never managed to get anything over a 5-pounder. And I think just that little, almost working it like a soft jerk bait in the grass is what just tricked that big one into hitting that thing. So anyway, there's a lot more stuff coming up. I'm anxious to get out and try these, maybe in a heads up, the Baby Rage Menace. I may even buy a pack of the Rage Menace, the bigger ones, just to try that a little bit. It'll be a little bit bigger tail. Let me try to get 3 of these tails here together for you. So there's the Baby Rage Menace. There's the one that we got from AliExpress, and they're Elastec, so they'll last, or silicone or whatever, they'll outlast these. That one's a little out of whack from being, I fished it quite a bit and then took it out and cut it down. And then there's the goat. So I'd say the goat and this are the closest. This is going to have a little more slight resistance, a little more flap to it. So I may get, I think I can get this color in all 3 for sure, and then just compare them in the water when I get in clear water and see if one gets hit better than the other. I think there's different times when any of these may work, and there's times I think when, on a jig anyway, maybe a bulkier one, not cutting it down at all, or slightly cutting it down, not as much, would maybe be a little better. Now on the jigs, since they don't have a ton of movement on their own, I like to leave all of the rear section on. If you guys don't know, on the chatterbaits, I haven't done it on this one. Where's the one I've done it on? Okay, here's the white one that's been has a little chartreuse bled into it. You can see I do like to cut down. I feel it's a little better with them cut down. On the chatterbaits, it's a little, you can almost like you can feel the resistance. You can definitely watch how to let it jump around a little more if you cut those tails down, or the whatever they call those on the back of the tail section. So it's just my recommending that you guys go out and maybe experiment a little bit on your skirting and your trailers, whatever kind of jig you're throwing. Because another jig that I'm definitely getting in the future are the Hack Attack, the flipping fluoro jigs, I think is what they are. Because the flipping ones and for the fluorocarbon, for whatever reason, have a little less skirt. They're just a little, and I'm gonna get them in a ½ ounce just so I can get down into deeper water a little quicker, and I can do that jerking around a little bit, and hopefully that will let it jump around. And I'm definitely a fan of either the round style for the fishing I do, like these finesse ones. I tend to not work them real slow. But then I like, once I get into a bigger, say ½ ounce, I like the Arky style heads better than any of them, even over a swimming jig, because I feel I can swim almost any kind of jig anyway. And if I'm, like, I don't really try to go through grass. I feel once I feel that I'm in grass, I like to swim a chatterbait through the grass. I feel I get better chance of pulling a fish out. And then I don't like a jig I want to throw into a spot. I don't really want to swim a jig through. And if I do want to, it's sparse enough I can swim a jig through there like I've done earlier in the year. Instead of the chatterbait, I like just these regular ball-headed style with the finesse style. So I definitely see, and I may check on, and you guys let me know if you want me to, on the tactical bassin, because on the jigs they were recommending, a few of them I've heard of and have, but especially on the bigger end, I don't have any of those. So I thought about getting some, and what gave me the idea is like maybe you guys want my opinion on what, if anything, to get from Tactical Bassin's buyer's guides, because there's no doubt those guys know what they're doing. They fish with all that stuff, but if you guys have added up any of that in the cost, if you're kind of like me and you're a little bit on the budget oriented side of it, like you can spend a small fortune just buying 2 things from each one of their buyer's guides in each season, right? You could have $1,500 wrapped up real quick. So if you just pick 1 or 2 things to try to add to your arsenal, say if you're just starting out, you come to the right place, Bass and Bonsai, go to AliExpress and get a little chunk bought of stuff to get you going. And then like this season, we're going to try to get into a little more finer stuff, which I've already done somewhat. If you guys know, I still recommend, but I'm going to try to get an LV500 and maybe that TN71 or 2 of each couple colors to put up against my Booyah Hard Knocker. I feel that the rattle trap bite was just in general off, but I like the Booyah Hard Knocker and the Toledo Gold, and then just a white one that I call a zombie. I forget what they call it. I like those in a ½ and a 3/4. I found I don't really like any smaller rattle traps. Anything less than a ½ ounce, I just do not like. I've thrown them and I've caught some stuff, but I feel the ½ ounce, when the bite's kind of going and they're more up in the water column, then there's just times when you need that 3/4, like you can go slower or the same speed you would with the half, but it's getting deeper. And that's just kind of how I do. I don't really change line to try to get different depth. I'll change speed somewhat, but I feel the rattle trap's kind of a covering water looking for bites, and a lot of times then you can switch to other stuff once you've found some fish or a certain way that they're wanting it or kind of thing. So anyway, comment below in this video if you'd like to see that. Because I'll just give you a couple heads up, like I've got a few of the Cordels, or I've had them in the past, the regular rattle traps. Those are very similar in my opinion. I feel that of all the ones I've tried over the years, which I had the Excaliburs and I felt they were pretty good. And if you guys don't know that story, I feel that after a few different things I've read and just having both at the same time, the old Excaliburs and the new Booyah Hard Knockers are the exact same bait. And I feel, me personally, I've had better luck with the Booyah Hard Knockers over the Excaliburs. Back when I had picked up 6 or 8 of those, I lost the one in the Toledo Gold. The whole reason it put me on the Booyah deal, but there's a whole other story there. It's all in the videos, on my redemption videos and different stuff. I went back first with the Strike King in the closest thing they had to Toledo Gold, which is that basically just red and chartreuse. I do not like those colors. Matt, I think, ended up with them. He still has them. I don't think he really cares for them either, but tracked down 3/4 ounce Toledo Gold and Booyah Hard Knocker. Didn't know how much luck I'd have until I just started throwing it, and man, it was game on. For about 2 seasons, I really loved that color in the bigger one. Then this year, though, my rattle trap game, that's what's got me thinking I'll try the LV 500s. They're just typically, they should be as heavy as the 3/4, but as small, roughly as a ½ ounce is I think what they say their selling point on those are. But I've also, from what I gathered, the way Matt Allen's talking about it, that TN70 is more for the Midwest type thing. It's probably going to be better than the LV 500. He kind of didn't come out and say it 100%, but almost like the LV 500 is more of that, West Coast kind of thing. It was awesome over there, but the TN70, I think, for him anyway, seems to be working better where they're at now, or may work for me better. But anyway, and they look like they got some good colors. I just browsed them out, but you're talking $15 a bait. The Booyah Hard Knockers are expensive to me, and they're like $7 or $8. So you're like doubling the money. I don't know if you'll get double the quality and the results of the fish that hit, right? And then same thing with the jigs. Some of these jigs, the Hack Attack one I know for sure because that's what the one Hannah was using in a ½ ounce. Charles just picked up it's hard to go wrong. You pick up a Arky style headed ½ ounce black and blue jig in any brand, they're probably going to get bit. Some could argue, well, the hookup ratios, this and that, but if depending on the size of hook, you got the right rod and line, to set the hook. And me usually braid to leader, I usually, I've got this heavy action rod now, so I might get 1 or 2 of those a little bit bigger. Probably won't go over a ½ ounce on, because I don't fish anywhere near deep enough water to where I could justify needing something very heavy or heavy enough cover to where a ½ ounce won't just get right through the grass and stuff. But the Hack Attack, the Flora one for sure, I'm going to be picking up a couple of those, maybe a couple that the Tactical Bassin guys have recommended to go with the ones that I recommend. You guys know the ones I recommend, right? The cheap ones, right? Finesse ones up at Rogers Sporting Goods. You can't go wrong with those. Any of these ball style. Jewel baits would be about my next recommendation as far as a brand. Jewel's been in the jig business for years. They kind of know what they're doing with that, the Pee-wee on the football, but just a Jewel in general. I like the ones that have that wire guard for whatever reason. They're not the best for throwing in the junk, but like if you're going to be dragging one along the bottom or swimming it, I just like, you guys even know I took the one I turned into a swim bait jig, right? Is a Jewel. I just took the skirt off of it and you can rig up different swim baits. I just like that extra little weed guard there that just helps it get through a little bit of gunk, yet it's still pretty much just an exposed hook. I like those on that. So I might pick up another couple, and Jewel, they're good about having those in-between sizes that, 3/16, 5/16, 7/16. If you guys are into that, you want a certain size. All right, I need to wrap this up, so let's go. It's almost a ½ hour. I haven't even talked about the reels. I'm going to show you real quick my 4 reels that are going on my 4 carbon lights. They've already been on there, but just in case you didn't know, I've got 2 of the Zillions. They're both 8.5-1, but I've changed up roughly how the retrieve is by the one that I'm using on my 7-foot medium moderate for cranking in general. I'm only filling it halfway, so it went from a 34 millimeter spool to somewhere around between a 30 and 32, which I don't care. Holds ton, a 15-pound braid, and it gets the job done. And it's about the right. It's just the right speed for everything, from chatterbaits to most of the cranking kind of stuff. And then this one I didn't fill all the way up yet, guys. Just all the blue line I had. I got the new blue line, but I haven't put it on yet. This line is still the old Hercules line from a few years ago. I had sitting around, so I put it on. But we've got that new line. We'll probably rig both of these up. What I'll probably do is I'll cheat this down. I won't take all the line off. I'll leave it about halfway with this line and then put new over the top. That way I just don't use as much as my new spool, right? Almost like a filler backing, like what you see guys talking about doing if you were going to put regular fluorocarbon on here. So that's the 8.5-to-1 that's going to be fully spooled on the 7-foot heavy action, using the Zillion for that, and then the Zillion for the 7-foot. So my 7-foot rods have the Zillions for one reason, really. I feel this is still my best casting for distance reel and my most powerful reel for the 7-foot heavy. And if I ever want to just zing out a heavy bait as far as it can go, I think I can get a little more distance, but not a lot, over these Acuras. The Acuras, as far as lightweight and able to just get the job done with the deep spools, that's why I've got an Acura that's on the 6'6" medium light, can cast crazy light baits, 10-pound test. All these others are probably going to just stick with 15, or this which is 18-pound, and I'll have 15-pound leaders. Now I may go with this 18, or maybe even go up to a 20 with the blue on the 1 Zillion, and then a 20-pound leader, P-line original, in case anybody's wondering. You guys shouldn't by now. But then this bad boy right here has just put the work in so far, this Acura. This one's put some work in, but nothing compared to this guy. That's my chatterbait reel. Since I've got it, put it on there, put this star on it. And this baby just flat out has done the work. I've thrown it in the water. I've dunked it in the water again. Still have not taken this reel apart to clean it or nothing. Feels crazy smooth. I don't know how long it'll last. We're going to find out, because I'm leaving it on that 6'9" medium heavy carbon light as my chatterbait rod, right? Still throw some of these little finesse jigs, awesome for that also. I will put new line on it too. That's the oldest of the Hercules that I had that I put on here. So as I get out of here, those are those, and I shared the link when I did the unboxing on these grips. Man, I love these things. I mean, you guys tell me, I think they're like the perfect size. They're big. And I oiled that and it sunk in a little bit. I need to clean that. But they just are that perfect size of grip. They feel real good. Now I've got 85 millimeter handles on these two. The Zillions have 85 millimeter thick aluminum. You know, I can have some cranking power with 85. And then my smaller ones, the Acuras, I've got 80. That's just a standard Daiwa 80 millimeter back in the old school size. And then that's the 80 millimeter, but these had to come on the air. They came on the air reels. They were made thicker, 80 millimeters. So these are the ones you'll see me fishing with on the carbon lights. You're seeing I've got ordered, and when it comes in, we'll talk about it. And Brew Tank Outdoors, I traded for the Geico Pigeon, whatever. We'll probably put it on the Teton, and then we're going to take the Salamander that comes in. Let that focus. Why won't that focus? When the Salamander comes in, we're going to put a different, I don't know which one yet. We're going to put this drag star on it. Probably a carbon fiber. Probably 85 millimeter. I've got several laying around. Put that single cork knob on it, since the we're going to put it on the Big Sexy, since the Big Sexy has cork. Add a little bit of gold. I'll probably either add a gold or a red. I may get a red one of these for the Geico Pigeon if I like it. I don't know. I may not even like those reels. And it'll be like the Silver Creek. I'll have to work a deal with Charles on one, possibly. Charles says he's done spending money, but trust me, Charles isn't done. What Charles also said, and he told me last time we went fishing, I finally think he broke down and bought a Teton 662, because he's seen how good a luck. He was with me the day I caught my personal best on that 661, and so I'm pretty sure he has a 662 Teton coming in, the light. So if when it comes in, we go out fishing. I'll compare and let you guys know for those of you that are curious, because I've never had the 662. If it's the exact same feel, if it's going to be a little stiffer, because if anything, it might be just a little, might not be as parabolic as the 661. That 661 is very, like, I call it almost a full flex, like what the old fly rod used to be. It's not too far from that. So the 662 has to have a little more, you might call it power, or less give in that midsection to where the two pieces hook together. But I've had the other two-piece Tettons, the 632 ultralight and the 522 SUL, and they feel very, like, you can't hardly tell the difference where they start and stop. And the filling rod is similar to that. But the Tettons are one of the best as far as where they hook together. It doesn't really have a hard feel to where, it kills the action of the rods. They're pretty good about that. So anyway, got all that stuff upcoming on Bassin Bonsai. But comment below, because I may just go ahead, and what I'll do is I'll fire up my computer and we'll jump into the end of the Tactical Bassin's deals on their description and look through right there and click at Tackle Warehouse, and I'll pinpoint like this color, that color. Because most of the colors they lean towards are more, I think they fish in a slightly clearer water than we do here in where the spots I go. Now, some of these places I go to are fairly clear. But sometimes when it's murky, it's funny that sometimes murky water it's usually one of three things: crazy bright green or orange, a black and blue, or a white. It's funny that when that water gets murkied up, that it's just black and blue will almost work anywhere. Clear water, dark water. Now, the muddiest of water I usually find, I go away from black and blue, go to more something that's a white or white and chartreuse. But a lot of guys say no, when it's the muddier the water, the more that a black or solid color will work. But I don't know. I find that, I don't know, it's just a toss-up, and it's almost like they change up. But the color that's popped into, I guess in the last, well, right before I started making videos and put Bassin Bonsai together, is when I started getting into what I call my foo-foo colors, my pinks and my purples. Like, if you showed me an all pink bait or all purple bait, I'm like, yeah, that's for to sell it to women kind of thing. But man, the bubblegum TRD, those morning wood, which is like a hot pink, worms from Z-Man, and then now like this purple haze color, those things just flat out catch fish. Now, I don't like, I think they even make them. I don't like getting into any kind of a swim bait looking thing in a too much of a purple, or definitely a pink, brighter pink colors. But when it comes to worms, some of them brighter, more pink or purplish colors tend to just kick in and work. And same thing with the peanut butter and jelly, which is almost that kind of purple, but then with brown. Those colors have worked for years too. But once you start brightening them up, I kind of shied away from them. But man, I'm telling you, I don't know if it's just because they haven't seen it. A lot of guys are like me, didn't like throwing those kind of things. But man, it's just like something kicked in, and those colors worked. And there's a lot of different colors. If you guys watch one of my last videos, when I put together the crazy bright, I basically took this dude right here, and that's that real good color, multiple colors of green and black in there, and I put that orange on it, and that became a bait that just, it felt like the bite had totally shut off. I caught several more bass with that bait right there rigged up. So anyway, I gotta get out here. I gotta get to the gym, take my pre-workout, go tear it up. You guys comment, do you like the single lifestyle handle or not? I like it better, but like nobody else does it, for one, which I guess that's fine for me. But a lot of you guys are like, you don't. So should I put together some reels without it on this customizing part of it? Because I like adding drag stars, and then I've just become a habit of adding these single lifestyle handles, just because I feel you don't need any. That other one out there doesn't, I don't know. Almost at times I feel like it gets in my way of, like, I'll reach up to adjust my drag, like I'm like, oh, and the drag's too, and it's like, oh, I got to go around that, to where when I don't have it, I'll be like, oh, the drag's too, and I can just come up here, and that's not in my way. I can adjust this drag so much easier with just one handle. And I try to get in the habit of stopping back here casting, engaging, and then when I'm fighting a fish, which a lot of you guys don't even realize you do it, you'll a lot of times you're pulling with both hands, so you're pulling and you're tugging, and you're back here with this one. That's what you've seen, guys. I've seen them do it on hook sets and when they're fighting a fish. You're not bending this handle from cranking it. What you'll do is you'll get in here and you'll pull so hard, or you try to pull your hands together, and I've seen guys bend metal handles this way, and a couple guys pull them out. I've seen it happen before because you're putting so much force on it, especially the minute you add something bigger to hold on to, and you don't realize it. And you should just be putting all, your left hand or your right hand, whatever hand's got the rod in it, should be. And I think it may be guys like me that are dominant hand. We cast, we switch hands, and then when we start fighting, our natural, more dominant hand wants to pull too, is where that could come in. But I haven't had any issue with any of these thinner, smaller carbon fiber ones, or but I use shorter ones. I could see where if you use like 110 millimeter and you're way out here and you're pulling and tugging, especially if some of these ones are made thinner, you could have an issue like that. But when I'm back here and I feel like, he starts pulling, I feel like I either got too light or too much drag, I actually like that single handle is gone. There's nothing there other than just the stars of the drag. I can reach up, and this feels like it's in my way. Every time I'll try to leave some of these on, I do it, and then I'm like, I don't like it. It gets in my way. But you guys comment what you think. As I get out here, the only reason I've started doing this was to drop weight. I didn't even think I would like the way it felt or whatever. I was just like, I wanted to take, if you guys know the story, I'm going to finish the story and then we'll be done, because right now you can go buy these things and they're way lighter than any of these other reels that back in the day I was trying to. But Shimano had their Aldebaran. Daiwa had their old school Alphas, the old school Aldebaran. Completely outweighed even the Pixie, right? The Aldebarans were just a lighter reel than the Alphas or even the Pixies, which were out of magnesium, and the Aldebaran was magnesium. So I tried to make an Alphas as light as I could. I even took out this at one time, the line guide and all that. I had all that gone. I took it apart internally, ground down stuff, had the drag stars ground down. I'm like, anything you don't need on a reel, I took it off. And that's how the single lifestyle handle was born. Like, you don't need that. That whole other knob and that, especially if you're dealing with any kind of bigger knobs or heavier, like, you don't even need any of that. And you don't. You don't have to have it. Everybody's like, balance. You don't need it for balance. There's no balance to it. You're cranking with it. It's just dead weight out there. It does give you, if you're, maybe if you're coming in like this, which one you're going to grab when you're fighting a fish. But like me, like I said, I typically tend to get in the habit of I'm back here, and I know when I'm coming for my reel, I'm actually just coming back here. Or if I was coming in, I might reach up here. I kind of, I don't know, I feel once you're used to this, it's just way better than having the dual handles on. Just like they make them for spinning, you can get to where there's a dual handle on a spinning reel. And what's funny is at the time, back when I was messing with spinning stuff, I thought it would be cool to have a double handle on a spinning reel. Plus the fact that you can, when you spin it, it'll go or whatever. So anyway, all right, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. More live streams coming up. I don't know when I'm going to be out fishing again. I am throwing in a couple of bonsai videos here and there. If you guys have never messed with the bonsai tree, at least check them out. A couple here and there to give you an idea of what bonsai is all about. Because when I get old and retired, I'm old. I ain't retired yet. I got another 14 years probably. Oh yeah, my birthday's coming up. I'll start a GoFundMe if you guys want to buy me something else. End of the year videos are coming up. My favorite, I'm going to go through, not really a buyer's guide, I'm going to go through my favorite baits of the year on different categories, but my favorite rods and reels. And you guys probably know, you're probably looking at them, right? But which is the best? Which is my favorite? Is it the Zillion? Is it the Acura? Is it the Dark Wolf Ultra? Is it something I don't even have anymore? What's my favorite rod? Is it the Teton? Is it the Carbon Lights? Is it maybe a rod I don't own at the moment? Is it the NRX Plus? No, it's not the Plus. I hear those are good, though. I hear they even made them a touch better. And there was nothing wrong with the old NRX, but if you fish braid, a lot of times you don't need that sensitive rod. It can actually hurt you if you guys found out about the purple rods. But that's all more to come later on. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate you watching. Help share this channel, though. I also, we're growing. I watched yesterday. I went from 8,460 to 60, or 61 to 60. Lost a subscriber overnight, then gained 2 more when I looked back later on the day. And no, I'm not that anal. I don't check it that often, but just in that quick little thing, I checked it. I'm like, I done lost 1, gained 2. I'm like, this is like all up and down. But if you guys remember right, when Jay had been commenting about the around 8,000 mark, which I don't even remember how many months ago that was. But at that time, we were growing like, I want to say 60 new subscribers every 28 days. Now we're down to like 25 or something. So we're gaining almost a new subscriber a day. But yet when I put a video out, other than these live streams, I'm lucky to get 100 views in the first week or so. The live streams are usually 100, 150, 200. And I'm like, where's all the 8,000? Where's just the 460 something at? Anyway, guys, share the channel. I got to cut. Look at that boo-boo.